independent. You know it. You love it. You can't live without it. Rockland World Radio.
Welcome to Divine Dialogue, heard on Rockland World Radio, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time every Monday evening. You can check out the past programs by clicking on the Programs and Archives button located off the menu bar. And now the hosts of Divine Dialogue, Lisa A. Thompson and Teresa Winicky.
Hello and welcome to This or Better's Divine Dialogue series. I'm Lisa Howard, this is Teresa Winicky, and our lovely guest host, Vicki Fireman. Hello, Vicki.
Hello.
Hey, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me.
You'll have to forgive the Lisa Thompson versus Lisa Howard in the beginning. We were just, the last minute, we were just engaged in conversation, and so the start time just seemed to jump upon us. Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, as we mentioned in last week's episode, we'll be continuing the conversation about resolution, goal setting, and how the new year is perceived by many cultures and individuals. Each have their own unique perspective on the new year and what it means for them. So we asked Vicki Fireman, who is also a member of Centers for Spiritual Living Rockland County, which is located at 521 North Broadway in Nyack. And I have had the pleasure of knowing Vicki for, I think, 2 years now that I've been visiting the service. And so we thought it would be a perfect idea. It was actually Teresa's suggestion. We thought it would be a perfect idea because Vicki has a deep understanding of the science of mind principles and the laws of the universe. And so we like to engage and continue this divine discussion with folks of like mind or similar paths.
And it's interesting, as we were sitting here chatting before we started, Lisa had stated, we were talking about the trip over here, and part of the trip over here is a bridge. And it seems like on many days there's traffic, and a lot of traffic and backups. It's a busy thoroughfare. So Lisa was talking about it's the last 5 miles and the last 5 minutes, and how that relates to, in general, a journey that a lot of us have, or most of us are on, is that last five, whatever it is, that last bit, whether it be resistance or whether it just be you can't quite figure out how to get to where you want to go. It's just right in sight, and you just can't get that step. So we were just having that conversation. I thought that was a really great place to start the conversation today, given it's January, talking about being resolute. Not so much about resolutions as most people really think about, I'll make a resolution in January, but being resolute, being committed, making a committed decision, and what it really takes to really have what you want to have in your life.
Right. So you want me to relive?
Well, you were just saying about your 5 minutes, 5 miles.
Yeah, often the aha moments that come up in our life are regular everyday tasks, right? And as we have often talked about in service on Sunday, it's the everyday tasks in life when you start to look at them differently. So sitting in traffic, it should take less than an hour to get to Nyack from where I am. And the last 5 miles of the journey took probably 30 minutes. And as I was sharing with the ladies that I had to kind of chuckle to myself because once I go into that trance when I'm sitting in traffic and I'm not going anywhere and all I see are red brake lights around me, it sort of sends me away somewhere. And I'm thinking to myself, why does this feel so familiar?
As I want to point, as the other side of the road is speeding past you at the speed of light, there's no traffic on the other side, so it's...
That's right. Which is another good point.
Yes.
Ha-ha, I got that. So I thought it was interesting that the frustration that I was feeling at the moment, and I was actually very calm about it. I knew you can't go anywhere. I'm just sitting here, but I thought it was very interesting how familiar it felt because this is the new year. And for me, there are a lot of projects that I have carried for the last few years that are literally on the verge of, but the verge, I keep saying the verge I think for the past few months I've been saying verge, but I feel like I am literally in the last 5 mile stretch of the manifestation. And it feels like I'm climbing up a hill and carrying like a 40-yard dumpster as I'm trying to get up to the summit. And I laughed to myself because not only was I able to see that reflection, but then I was able to reason with myself, and look at all the progress that I've made. And instead of looking at that 5 miles, I deliberately, with intention, talked myself out of that. Not that it's not true, it was genuinely true. I experienced that, and I know that it was frustrating, and I related it immediately to, I'm at the stretch. But then I had to remind myself, look how far you have come. And it seems now, like, did the pearly gates open and trumpets blared and the traffic moved?
Parted.
No, it didn't. But I did forget about the discomfort that I was in. So you see where I'm going with that.
Yes.
And you still made it here on time.
And I still made it here on time.
With a few to spare.
Yes. Yes, I did. So I guess where that's bringing the conversation, or at least where it's bringing me at the moment, since we decided to take the month of January to talk about resoluteness and as well as, what resolutions, what that means to people as opposed to being resolute, one who is resolute. And postponing our workshop, which is Resolution Success 2014 and begins on February 4th. We deliberately decided to postpone this workshop because we had researched some of the statistics around the new year, various cultures, but statistics, just in America alone, the statistic rate was 18% success. So it was 18% of all resolutions succeed. The 82% that fail typically fail 3 weeks, but within 3 weeks, the resolution is now on the shelf somewhere getting dusty. And so we wanted to explore what the 18% is doing, not why the 82% failed, but what the 18% did, right? Because you can't solve a problem from the same mind that created it. So why would we study what's failing?
There you go.
Yeah.
It's good to
point.
keep in the back as a reference, maybe.
Who is that? Bernie Siegel wrote a book, Love, Medicine, and Miracles. And he had studied the people that were really doing well, people who had cancer,
Right.
and it was written back in the 80s, I think. And I've seen him recently. He's at one of the local hospitals by me. But really, it was miraculous. The people who were thriving, even though they were diagnosed with cancer, even though they were going through the process of cancer and moving through it, the people that were thriving were the people that were keeping their eye on what they wanted to accomplish. They
Right.
weren't waiting till the illness was done. They didn't put their life on hold to fight the illness or to battle with it, but they actually lived through it with all their desires and maybe, put it on the upsweep, and put it a little higher. What I really want to accomplish in my life is this, and really work towards that. And those are the people that thrive during that time of whatever the illness is, whether it be cancer, whatever
Right.
the illness is, to do that. But that was one of the first books I really read on moving through an illness like that. It's really a great read. It's a really great read.
Right. And metaphorically speaking, the traffic jam is an illness.
That's
You know.
very good.
And it does cause illness, traffic jam.
Yes, it
So-
does.
So Vicki, did you make any resolutions this year? Any that you're willing to share?
No, I don't really make resolutions. I just kind of, I like what Teresa said in the fact that because what we practice in Science of Mind is a vision, right?
Right.
We try to keep a vision statement or to, kind of set a goal for what is our vision. And I think that is more important to me anyway, to see what is my vision for this year. What and because most of my resolutions would center on the losing weight or the being on time or
Right.
accomplishing, my work in not having to stay late at the office. But I wanted to go beyond that and like what personally I wanted to achieve. And sometimes you really can't see your achievements until you kind of like look back
Right.
and see how far you've come. And I think that's, for me, I had a recent experience where I had to forgive somebody that was in my life a while ago. And in forgiving this person, I was able to look back 2 years ago to who I was versus who I am today. And although I said, to this person, I don't hold any resentment, but I'm not the same person I was 2 years ago. And it really made me feel like I achieved something.
Right. A great sense of accomplishment.
Yes. Yes, I felt that in the day-to-day living, I might not see it. But when...
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I really felt good about that. And I think sometimes you don't really see the progress.
Exactly. So, you remember last week when I mentioned to you about the red light, green light,
Yes.
and the perspective of the red light, green light. So I can totally understand what you mean and how you must have felt, because at a moment I'm sitting at a traffic light with my cousin who's driving. We come to a light close to my home, and she said, "Oh, I hate this light. It's such a long red light." And I looked at her. I had been gazing, because if I'm in the passenger seat, I'm a window shopper.
Oh, right.
A looky-loo. I like to look. And I looked at her and I go, "Yeah, it is a short green, isn't it?" And then I chuckled to myself, because I thought to myself, what she perceived as a long red, I saw as a short green. and I got such a kick out of that, and I felt good. Not that my perspective was better, but just that I knew that the Lisa I am today would see it as a short green and not a long red.
Exactly.
Right? But that 5 miles of traffic was 5 miles of traffic. I only saw red lights.
Oh. Or, as Gay Hendricks would say, he was in the monastery of the LA freeway.
Right.
He got stuck in traffic and had $1 million idea, which manifested 3 months later. So it's that time where you could,
Right.
you could use that time. I mean, you could struggle, or you could use that time and be at peace and let your imagination wander and create a goal or create a vision for yourself, or visualize, or do whatever it is that you want to do in that time that you're there. So-
As you know, most of my sacred space is in my vehicle. The solitude of the Cross Bronx. You are absolutely
Yes.
correct, though, Teresa. That's where my best thinking, or my deepest thinking.
I had dropped
Takes place.
my daughter. She does soccer. She goes to soccer, and we were up in New Windsor, New York, which is about an hour away. And for me, there's not much around up there. So I said, fortunately, I have other parents that will help carpool. So I drove them there, and I didn't have to wait the 2 hours of practice in 26-degree weather sitting in my car watching them. Somebody else said that they would happily pick them up if I would just drop them off. I'm like,
Take turns. Absolutely.
great. And I was like, oh, it's a drive. But it was what a drive on the way home. It was interesting, because my GPS kept wanting me to take me one way, but I wanted to go on the other way. I wanted to go down 84 and just get on the Taconic and just go the way I knew. But my GPS, it wasn't showing me how to get back to that route, because there's a lot of back roads there. So I just went with it. I said, all right, I guess there's a reason for me to go do it. And I actually got taken down 9W, down along the Hudson River, and down the icy river and the barges. And
And 9W, I don't like, it's very dark.
But this is in the day. So
Oh,
it was
alright.
it was Sunday morning, yesterday
That's
morning
right.
at 10 o'clock in the morning, and it was
It's
just
gorgeous.
it was such a soul nourishing drive. I had beautiful music. I actually was listening to Mary Morrissey, one of her meditations on the Life Mastery program on transformation. So I had Mary speaking to me and enveloped
What a
in
way
my
to have
car.
a nice Sunday
So
morning.
enveloped in my car with Mary on full blast doing my transformation meditation. The beautiful Hudson River. It was just such an easy drive on a Sunday. There was no traffic, and it was just what a way to start the day. I had no plans for that. It was just came upon me to do it, and it was just such a transformative experience of driving, and my whole day was shifted with that. There was no resistance. There was just moving with it. So part of what we talked about last week is January for me is a very cleansing time, and it's my time to reassess, really go a little bit deeper within. And that was such a great process to move through yesterday by myself, and then ran my errands in such peace in the as Thich Nhat Hanh was like, we were talking about too, about a walking meditation, doing my shopping in BJ's and the Stop and Shop.
While you're
and-
meditating.
and doing my walking meditation of my cleansed experience of my day. It was a wonderful experience. And so I think with starting our program, the Reach Resolution Success 2014 in February, it's just a place to really start on a cleansed palette and really looking for what is my vision, what is it that I want to. I don't want the same year I had last year. It was a beautiful year. It had great ups and downs, but what is the next version of myself that I'm looking to move into? So it's just really a wonderful time of year. And even the barrenness of it, even like 9W, it wasn't like a beautiful green, place. It was barren, like it was brown, and it wasn't a lot of color. It was overcast, but it was the right spot to cleanse. It's wonderful. So you could do it anywhere, anytime, anywhere.
Well, and as life cycles go from barren to bearing fruit, so it's barren now, but everything
Right.
changes, everything has a season, so barren is a new start.
Yeah.
There goes that green light, red light thing. So, in my travels for the past week, because we are talking about resoluteness and what it means to be one of, I don't know if I'm saying it correctly, resoluteness, right? To possess a quality of resoluteness. Am I saying that properly?
Yes.
Being resolved.
Being resolved, okay. All right, being a woman of resolve.
There you go.
Of great resolve, is not always something that is an easy thing to. It usually takes a lot of work. It's not that you can just blink your eye and say, okay, the new year's here, and now I'm going to be a woman of resolve. It's something that is cultivated. It's taught by experience. There's really no textbook that can teach you how to be a person of resolve. It has to be, if anything that I've gotten out of the week, then I've come to, for me, understand that to be a woman of resolve, as you say, there has to be a tremendous amount of dots behind you
Experience.
to become a woman or a person of resolve. I don't think, do you understand what I'm saying? I think it's something you learn or you acquire.
Right, and I think I see it as you say that. So it's not about experience of like years of experience, but I think it's a quality when I look at my daughter who plays soccer. She has such resolve. The workouts that they do, and the frequency which they do it, and the level that she wants to play at. She's resolved because she knows she wants to play soccer in college, and it's part of who she is. This physicalness, this
Right.
skill that she has, and so I think at any age you can be resolved, and then it would just be really, what are you up to in your life? What stage of your life are you at? At being in your 30s, 40s, 50s, every stage brings, I think, a different resolve,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think the real key is having some type of vision to be resolved for.
Well, I agree. And the thing about decisions, because we started off saying, what decisions have you made? I think the hardest thing is to get to the decision. But once you do get to that place, then you have the resolve. Then
Right.
all your energy is then focused. And the one thing, I was listening to Jean Houston. I don't know if you know her.
Uh-huh.
She is a wonderful speaker and writer, and she rewrote The Wizard of Oz and calls it The Wizard of Us. And in it,
I haven't read it, but I've heard of it.
she analyzes all the characters of the movie, particularly Dorothy. And she says, we, like Dorothy, have to be hit with a tornado sometimes
Exactly.
in order to move ourselves.
Right.
And I thought, isn't that true? Because sometimes the toughest experiences move us the furthest along.
Oh, absolutely. You'll get no argument from me. Hence all the dots I'm talking about, when
All
we're
the
connecting the
dots.
dots. Some of those experiences come with, a mountain of dots. I would agree, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, that's why for me, resolve means something that I have, a place I've gotten to. So I think when everything is going rosy,
You don't need much resolve. You just,
well, and I was looking
kinda coast.
for the, the culprit that jammed my printer and won't let me print attachments was this document I was trying to print, and I had looked up the meanings of resolve, of resolute, and it was interesting how many, obviously as an adjective, how many different names we call it. So it was determined, it was adamant, it was, I mean, it went on and on and on, and I can't find the one page that showed all the different, commitment was part of the definition. So that's why I think I had to deepen my understanding of what resolve meant, or to determine whether I am a woman of resolve, or am I still setting goals and just chasing a goal,
that's a very good
you know?
question. That's a great question.
Well, that was my purpose of exploring how can I really describe what that word means if I'm not even sure if I possess it.
Interesting.
So, on that note, we have I have continued to research and talk to people about what resolutions mean. I thought it was interesting when we left last week. Jan and I had stopped across the street, and of course there was a magazine sitting there. It was about resolutions, and we just left because it was everything that we had just talked about. Are you losing weight? Are you going to find a mate? Or you're going to have that dream job? It was the three most common. So we just kind of laughed about it because there's nothing wrong with having those desires, and in fact I've had every one of them, sometimes all at once.
Many times over.
Many times over, and I'm sure I'll have that again at some point. I will desire to have more of something that feels good and nurtures my life, But now, and especially for the past week, I knew what my so-called resolution was, and I have taken steps over the past couple of weeks to get to that place. It was just last week when I decided, okay, I think that the direction I need to go is by being, as you say, now I'm saying it after the fact, by being a woman of resolve, I need to be committed to my visions, but doing so is requiring me to define boundaries, it opens up a whole, I don't want to say a can of worms, because they're all beautiful things that are coming out of this can. They're things that I have wanted to pursue and for many reasons didn't. Now I feel like I'm clearer, having those dots behind me, and now in a place of resolve that I can say and be comfortable with saying no. And
I
not
like that.
spreading myself out too far, leaving very little room for myself to grow
I like
in pursuit of my own
Right.
desires.
Yes, when you have a particular destination in mind, then it's easier to say no, because that's not going to get you where you want to go. So
Right.
it's but you always have to be clear about what that is, or people will continue to come into those you won't have any boundaries. We'll just try to keep coming in, because you're good at so many things. You get things done. You're a get it done type of person. So you can make mountains move, right, for everybody. and it's
Except the last 5 miles felt like a mountain to me. I couldn't make it move. Yes, to your point. So that's good. As I mentioned, that my term as a board member will be ending soon, and it's not that I'm elated and looking forward to that, like, oh, my term is up. It's sort of bittersweet. I know there's a tremendous amount of time, and it's not just physical time. It's the mental real estate that I give to something. If I'm invested in it, I may not be able to do something physically to make any change at that moment, but the mental real estate that I give every one of my commitments is enormous. I have no idea how many megabytes are up here. I really don't. But I'm starting to associate myself with a computer because of all of this work I'm doing for I Choose a Charity and the research. And now I'm thinking, good God, how unlimited it must be that it just keeps. Is it giga? I don't know which is bigger. Giga. I'm the least technical savvy. So to me, a mega and a giga is just the difference of an M and a G. But now it actually, I'm going to say, and I went on that retreat this past weekend. It was an overnight retreat, but it was lovely, and it was lovely simply because, and we went to Bangor, Pennsylvania, Kirk Ridge Retreat Center. And it was a breathtaking, beautiful view. I mean, it's up on Bangor Mountain, and
Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and the view was just spectacular with the mountains, and then when the sun set, the night I left, we watched that sunset, and it was. You didn't need to. The topic of the retreat was, when is enough? Having enough. When do we feel from a place of enough? And so, when I looked out the window, I said, okay, that's enough. That is my example of enough. Say no more.
That's a good one.
So I would love for the retreat to have been a 3-day retreat. There was a 12-hour silence period, which I think is golden. I love it. We have tags that we hang on us that say honoring silence, and you are silent. You eat together and so on. But
So you got there on Saturday?
Friday. It changed. I went Friday evening, and we came home Saturday evening.
Oh, okay.
So, there was an outdoor hike, and it was beautiful. It snowed. They must have got 6 inches there Saturday.
It was wild Saturday the way
It was a little bit of everything. Talk about a mixed bag.
Whew, that was wild, that weather on Saturday.
It was beautiful
so
to
you were
wake up.
hiking that? Yeah.
And when I looked out the window, every tree was kissed with a couple of inches of snow. So the room that the majority of the retreat was being facilitated in was sort of round, and it was all glass, and it all overlooked the mountains.
Oh, wow.
And so to watch that sunset, to see the snow on the mountains and then the sunset, need I say more?
Yeah.
It just got better and better. But the point I'm trying to make, and I'm taking a long time to make, is that I made the decision to take that retreat with the intention of retreating, pulling myself away from the to-do list, the obligations, and all of the hats that I wear, and deliberately taking those 2 days to power down, to just power down and then see what comes up when I power down. Because when I power down, which is what usually happens when I'm stuck in traffic and I wind up powering down, something wonderful comes up.
Yes, because then you're creating the space to have listening to the voice.
Right. I
That's
deliberately did.
Always there, but we don't. Really.
So 24 hours did me a world of good. Can you imagine? After 3
Amazing.
days would have been fantastic too. But I'm grateful for the 24 hours because it really did remind me. So this morning, when I got up, I set my clock to get up 30 minutes earlier, so that I could push my spiritual practice up, and be able to. I like my sleep. I do not like getting out of the bed in winter. I would like there to be a heated floor. Or a heated rug by my bed when I get out. So to get me up a half hour earlier in the dark, cold winter, but that was because I felt like I was decompressing my sacred time. My meditation, my spiritual practice went from an hour to 30 minutes, and then I started to do it in 20 minutes, and it just wasn't enough. For me, I think the opposite is true. Maybe for others they can do that. But I think that as on this journey for me, I'm noticing that I need more time. I can't economize on my spiritual practice. That's the last thing that you want to economize on.
That's a great saying.
Do you know? But you look at the to-do list and go, okay, well, I can't do 30 minutes today. I can't afford not to. Because when I economize, I'm noticing, looking back on the last 2 months, I'm noticing how much less I'm getting accomplished. And the only change was real, when I look at my schedule 2 months ago wasn't much different than it is now. My schedule is still the same schedule. There's still a tremendous load on it. So what was the game changer? And I think the game changer was that it was me trying to cram in. When you're growing, you need more time because you're going even deeper, I think.
Yes, you are.
At times.
Yeah, I like that.
That's how it felt anyway. There's a lot coming up. It's been a great couple of weeks.
So the number, if anyone wanted to call in and make a comment or ask a question, 845-353-2910. Or go on to, and we're on rocklandworldradio.com. So 845-353-2910. So this is a show about solutions. So it's Divine Dialogue. We're a solution-based program. So you are a practitioner. So when people call you for you to work with them as practitioners, solutions of people are dealing with, the everyday trials, tribulations, processing through things. So what is the solution when we talk about having a deeper spiritual practice to help open us up to different conversations that when we're in, all the chatter of the world and we don't have any quiet time, to really step back and really have some quiet time, take some quiet time to ourselves. So I would say that would be a solution to really evolving your spirit, to evolving a higher level of thinking. So what are some of the recommendations that you have or practices that you have had in finding that time to enlarge that practice? Or what do you do during your day to get yourself quiet and to really open up to divine dialogue or
Well,
creating?
So the retreat is just something that we do on occasion, right? To recharge and what have you. But on a daily level, daily practice, daily spiritual practice for me is twice. It's in the morning and it's at night. So at night I spend with my gratitude journal. In the morning I start out with my Science of Mind magazine, and I deliberately make time. At least 30 minutes is what I think. I need a minimum of 30 minutes. But it is the first thing that needs to be done. And it's as simple as I play a certain CD, a certain type of music that I find allows me to stay focused with the music and bring me to a space where I can empty my mind. Part of the reason I struggled with meditation so much, I'll stick my neck out enough to say that I think a lot of people struggle with meditation because there's this idea, I don't know where it came from because it is incorrect. Meditation is a time to empty your mind so that you can hear a voice. Others might think it sounds odd to say, but to hear a voice other than the mindless chatter that's going on, that you've collected. So it's a place to just simply quiet yourself. Meditation sometimes is misconstrued with a way of getting a message. That you're trying to get an answer. You're not trying to get an answer. And you already have the answer. It lives inside of you. It's part of who you are. It's your divine nature. So meditation allows you to quiet your mind and put yourself in a space where you can reflect on your divine nature as a spiritual being having a human experience. And in that process of quieting yourself and I think meditation, in a sense, is also a demonstration of faith. Because when you're putting yourself in that space to meditate, and you are deliberately quieting your mind with the expectation of either gaining greater clarity or hearing this message, however meditation is used, because people use it in different ways. My purpose is to quiet my mind, to shut the chatter,
The monkey mind.
the monkey mind, to get that monkey tamed and quiet and just leave me with enough time. And it's beautiful because I don't always recognize the voice. I will not tell you that it's a man's voice that I hear, but it's almost like an echo in my own head, as though it's my voice.
Yes.
Right? So, but I've heard other people say they hear other voices. I think it's a woman's voice. I think it's my voice. I can hear it up there. So when it sounds as flighty as that, that's how awkward meditation was for me in the beginning. It wasn't something that was easy for me to get me to sit still and not think about the 1,000 things to be done was a really big job. It's 6 years I'm practicing meditating.
I like a guided meditation because I do my mind it's a lot of training. It just keeps going back. I have to keep remembering to pull it back in, but I love the guided meditations to escort me through, meditations that I trust, I've listened to, and I know it's a place that it's going to take me to some cleansing, some listening. But I prefer
and it's a great
that.
way guided meditations are a great way. For me, they're very helpful in teaching me discipline of my mind to be able to move direction without moving direction.
Because
to
even
change the
though-
direction of what I'm thinking without changing the direction.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
But
so
even
you
though-
build muscle.
in the guided meditation, I still my mind, I feel it going that way, and I still
Right,
have to
there
pull
is
back,
that-
but it's easier to pull myself back when I'm listening to, listening to somebody taking me on a particular roadway that I wanted to go through.
Right. Now, if someone like Eckhart Tolle would tell you that if meditation, if just the sitting in a position in a chair, you don't have to sit in lotus position and go, it doesn't have to be that way for you. Sometimes I'm sitting in a beautiful chair, that it's my favorite chair. I have my cup of tea, I'm listening to that beautiful CD and deliberately setting myself up to be in that space of calm. And before you know it, I don't even notice that there isn't any chatter. All of a sudden I realize it's been quiet. So, but just doing that alone, if you did that 3 times a day, you just breathe and exhale, you could slow down the chaos in your life. If you did that 3 times a day, you just sat in a quiet space, deliberately in a quiet space, not even trying to meditate, just remove yourself from your environment or your atmosphere, whatever that is that you're dealing with, and separate yourself with the deliberate intention of just calming and focusing on the inhale and the exhale. If you did it once a day, it would be an improvement. And the theory is that you can't think of more than one thing at a time. That monkey is driving us crazy because all those things are going on up there, but not one of them is actually being concentrated on. It's just a mess, right? So when you're breathing, you are deliberately slowing down your mind. You are, ultimately directing the monkey mind, because you can't do 2 things at one time. You can't go bananas up here thinking all these 1,000 things and focus on your breathing. So the breathing is just to bring focus and to help you slow things down. So if life seems chaotic and you're having a tough day and things aren't going right, it does help to remove yourself. If you're in an office environment and you want to go to the ladies' lounge or walk outside, but remove yourself for a moment, focus on the breath, and deliberately feel the inhale and the exhale, and watch. You will feel the physical calm will take place immediately. And it's amazing how it will untangle the day.
Do you have any particular practices that work for
Well,
you?
I agree about meditation. I've tried for years to meditate, and then I came upon a guided meditation by John Welshon, and I've been listening to his tape for over a year now, almost every night. And believe it or not, I sometimes don't get through the whole thing. I sometimes fall asleep. Or sometimes I use it to relax myself so that I can go to sleep. But John is saying basically what Lisa is saying about focusing on the breath and the inhale and the exhale, and to do that, because that really gives the mind a center, a place to just have that focus so that it can relax. And meditation has been shown to lower blood pressure. I mean, physically, you have benefits of meditation. I was recently diagnosed with glaucoma, and one of the health things they said to do for yourself was to meditate. So there are many, health benefits to meditation, but just slowing down the mind and letting the voice come through, is something that I think is beneficial every single day. And I think, Lisa, when you gave the Prosperity Plus class at my apartment,
Right.
I think you're the one that stressed how important and how, helpful, positive meditation could be.
Right. And for me, I have always been taught that some people have spiritual practice at different times of the day. I don't think I've ever met someone who said, "Oh, I don't practice in the morning," because it's kind of like venturing into your day, not setting the picture. So the purpose of treating in Science of Mind, which is our word for affirmative prayer, is setting the tone for the day. So we're sort of coloring what our day is supposed to look like. So you don't really want to fly into your day without deciding what you'd like that day to look like, and then deciding halfway in, oops, I better back up. Can we have a do-over? And that's why it's beneficial for the morning, and to the point where I won't leave my bedroom without reading my Science of Mind magazine. By the time I get into the kitchen, get my water and put my tea on, and then make my way into the part of my house that I use for my regular spiritual practice, I have a space that is designated for spiritual practice. In the morning it starts out in one particular place, and in the evening my gratitude journal and whatever it is I'm reading is right there beside me. So that's my evening. But to be that deliberate and to create a space in your environment and make a commitment to have such resolve that you determine yourself and commit yourself to designating an area. And this is not a trend. This is not something I'm just doing a quick fix. This is something I'm introducing and incorporating into my everyday beingness. It's not something to achieve or to get something. It's got to be a life changer. People will try it and they'll see the benefits, and some will try it and not see the benefits. But I think most people who go into it and do make the decision to be faithful to it will agree with us that the benefits are enormous, from physical to mental.
Exactly.
And in the process of making some heavy decisions, especially when there are difficult times in our lives, that is exactly, I believe, why spiritual practice is so essential, because getting through those times, meditating and affirmative prayer doesn't mean that those challenges aren't going to arise, but affirmative prayer and meditation allows you to cope with and sort of set the course to go through them.
And to hear that still small voice that knows. I had a minister, and he used to say, the same mind that doesn't know, knows.
That's right.
It's the same mind. So if you give it the opportunity, you can hear that. You can hear the answer. You can hear the whatever it is you need to hear, even if it doesn't seem like it at the time.
Raymond Charles Barker, who is he opened the first Church of Religious Science in, I think it was 1946. But Raymond Charles Barker is alike with the Ernest Holmes and the great religious science teachers of that era. And Brian Hines was quoting some of his work today, and he was talking about decision. So of course I thought it was fun that I stumbled upon that. But Raymond Charles Barker will reiterate in that book in so many different ways. He's worded it in so many different words, using so many words, but his message is very clear, that every one of us knows what we want. We all know what we want. For different reasons, we won't confess what they are. Typically, when one is in pursuit of self-help and improving their life, there tends to be a statistic that would imply that a lot of these individuals are carrying burdens of guilt and so on. And so he went on to talk about guilt and how it impacts one's ability to make a decision. And then he talked about, so it was an incredible conversation because one word led to another. But the interesting thing was that he explained that Tibetans, there is no word for regret. It talks about, they word it as a moment of lacking in intelligence. But there is no regret. And Louise Hay will say that don't shit all over yourself, right? So I love that when I hear someone repeat that, don't shit all over yourself, I should have done this. Maybe start off wherever you are right now, if this is the message you take away from tonight's show, and as you think about what it is that you're going to do, or what it is you'd like 2014 to be for you, that you do it knowing that regret is the most wasted. It's actually a tie with guilt, as Wayne Dyer would say. It's the most wasted emotion because the should haves or could have do nothing but distract you from being and having such resolve and dedication and determination to pursue a goal. The guilt and the regret and whatever it may be is only a distraction. It's like another person who needs to be dropped off on a very long journey. The journey's already going to take 18 hours. The guilt and the regret are just more people that have to stop to go to the bathroom, which means this 18 hours is going to be 21 hours. So you get rid of regret and you get rid of guilt.
I like that.
And you focus.
And you move forward.
So, on that note, the close of our show is approaching. And again, we would like to thank you for joining us on tonight's segment of Divine Dialogue, and encourage everyone to give us your feedback, connect with us by visiting our website, thisorbetter.com. And if you are interested and would even like some information on the Resolution Success 2014 workshop, which will begin on February 4th, please, again, visit our website, contact either Teresa or myself. We'll get back to you as soon as possible. And if nothing else, and you just want to tell us how you feel about the show or some topics you'd like us to discuss, by all means, contact us at thisorbetter.com. For now, have a wonderful evening and a fantastic week, and be good to yourself, be kind, and if you can practice some meditation and set some time in your day, start out with 15 minutes every day to pull yourself out of wherever you are and deliberately quiet your mind and see how things shape up for you. Again, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you next week on Divine Dialogue. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.
Good night.